Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. We've asked you to convene here with us so that we can share all of the information that we have to provide about the Metro 2 helicopter crash. We are joined today by Sheriff Manuel Gonzalez and Chief Greg Perez, as well as our respective command staff personnel. As you can see, we've elected to hold a joint press conference today. Chief Perez and Sheriff Gonzalez, thank you for making this event happen. As we begin, please note that I may direct your attention to the screen to my left for some pertinent details throughout the press conference. And in just a moment, Sheriff Gonzalez and Chief Perez will each provide their remarks about the incident as well as the personnel that were involved. Afterward, we would like to provide you with a timeline of the events of July 16th as we currently understand them. And before we transition into the comments from our agency leaders, I do need to thank the community in advance for your patience and understanding during this time of crisis. And it is in that spirit of understanding that I must inform you in advance that we will not be fielding questions today at the conclusion of the prepared remarks. However, in preparation for today, we did review many of the questions that we received through our public information office, and I'll do my absolute best to proactively answer as many of those questions as we received in writing over the weekend in advance for you here today. And of course, you are welcome to submit any follow-up questions in writing to our public information officers at the conclusion of today. With that being said, please allow me to introduce Sheriff Gonzalez for his remarks.
Good afternoon. I'm Sheriff Manuel Gonzalez III. It's with extremely heavy heart that we have to host this painstaking press conference. And bear with me because this is extremely difficult. First and foremost, the thing we want to actually acknowledge is the 4 people that are deceased. They are, bar none, heroes to us far before this incident. They were doing this type of work, whether it be rescues, whether it be firefighting or police work. All these people were dedicated. We understood that they loved what they did to the point where I find some comfort in knowing that they lost their lives doing what they loved. So that being said, what's most important is that we're taking the time for the families, and knowing that we in this community, the outreach has been overwhelming, and I appreciate that. But we need to understand that we have to offer them our condolences, their prayers, and their thoughts. And the 4 people on that crew on Metro 2 that day, first of all was Under Sheriff Lawrence Korn. Offer his condolences to his wife, Maria, and his 2 sons, Carson and Justice. Next, Lieutenant Fred Beers and his wife, Anita, and his son, Daniel. Thirdly, Michael Levinson and his family and his significant other, Noel. And lastly, Matthew King and the King family. So we want them to know in the next days to come we'll be offering some services. I've reached out to the county manager. She's offering everything up, contracted services. This incident is too large for our agency to handle. So we have to ask for support. And I've always said this was the worst day of any head of agency day is the loss of a staff member. And so that's times 4. And you know, I say that because those are the crew members that were participating in that service to the Las Vegas, New Mexico, and the fires out there. And what I'll tell you about our Metro Air Support Unit is they never told anybody no. And we should all be grateful for that because they were willing to go out on the helicopter constantly, knowing that that's a high-risk incident or opportunity, but they went out there willingly, and that takes a very special person to be that brave. So moving forward, I'm also concerned about our staff. I'm concerned about the firefighters here and their mental health, so we're going to stay focused on them and the families in the days to come. All the support that you've given in terms of community and the outreach, I'd like to thank you. And we will, we don't have a timeline, I'm going to say, on this incident. All we know is that we're concerned about our staff and our people, and we'll be providing whatever they need, and that's why I wanted to make sure that we did this sooner than later. That being said, I want to turn it over to Chief Greg Pettis so he can speak on behalf of the firefighter that was involved. And I'm just going to refer to him as firefighter Matthew King. Chief.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. It's with a heavy heart that we stand in front of you. This has been a tragic 48 hours for Bernalillo County, and we all are at a loss. Trying to put words together to sum up what we're feeling and what we're experiencing, it's not possible. This is one area that we're not professionals in. The men standing behind me and the women, we're professionals in law enforcement, we're professionals in firefighting, we're professionals in medical response. We're not professionals in grieving the loss of fellow members. So we're learning as we go. We know that the most critical piece for us right now at this moment is to take care of the families and provide for them everything and anything that they need. Followed secondly, but not less important, our staff, making sure that the men and women that are still out there right now, this very moment, serving us proudly, are taken care of and that their needs are met at all costs. And lastly is the community, and making sure that the community understands the importance of the process that we're going through, and ask for prayers and thoughts for the family members, the victims, and each and every one of the folks behind us and out in the field serving. Again, it's not an area that we're professionals in, and we'd be lying to you if we said that we knew exactly what was going to happen each step of the way. It's our uncharted territory, and I'm thankful that it's uncharted territory. This is one area that I don't want to be an expert, and I don't want to be a professional. But what I will be is a strong hand and a strong shoulder and a strong ear for all of the men and women, irregardless of uniform that they wear, and the community as we work together to grieve the loss of 4 absolutely amazing individuals. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief and Sheriff. And with that, I would like to move on to the timeline. If you could direct your attention to the screen to my left. I do have some details about July 16th and what specifically our air unit was doing. Again, I mentioned earlier that this is to the best of our current knowledge. If we do have a correction or revision to some of this information, we will ensure that that is disseminated to you as quickly as we learn about it. But let's start with the morning of July 16th. At around 10:56 hours in the morning, our crews left Double Eagle Airport for a PR event at Valle del Oso on South 2nd Street. They arrived at approximately 11-12 hours. They remained there for several hours at this event, departing at 12:48 in the early afternoon. And they went to retrieve several kayaks that had been left on the Rio Grande River from a previous day's events near Rio Grande and Chamizal Road. Roughly 18 hours, we arrive at Double Eagle Airport. That would have been to do another series of checks before they depart on the longer mission and fuel up as well. 13:48, they depart Double Eagle Airport en route to their primary mission that day, which, as we mentioned in the previous press release, was to assist with the East Mesa fire. Specifically, they were looking at doing bucket drops and some short haul movements to provide equipment and logistical support for some of the fire crews that were on the ground actively fighting that wildfire. 14:50 hours that afternoon, they arrive on scene and begin to do their logistical setup to accomplish the objectives of that mission. 15:05 hours, They launched from the initial scene and performed approximately 20 bucket drops before landing, serving various hot spots and directed by ground crews as far as where they wanted those bucket drops done specifically. 19 hours that afternoon, they arrive at the Las Vegas airport to refuel. 32 hours, they again depart the Las Vegas airport to perform several more bucket drops. It's unknown exactly how many additional bucket drops they performed on the second run. 22 hours, they arrive at the Las Vegas airport to refuel, and they've considered their mission completed for that day, and they make preparations to depart back to Albuquerque. 36 hours, they depart the Las Vegas airport to return back to Double Eagle. And 1918 is their last known location just south of Las Vegas, New Mexico, where, as you all know, the crash site is located there in the hills just south of the city. The response to an incident of this magnitude is quite honestly unprecedented. And one of the amazing things about the law enforcement and first responder family is that the support we receive from one another during these times of need. And we are eternally grateful for that support from all of the agencies around the state who either provided direct support or simply offered their condolences to us over the last several days. There are, however, several specific agencies that I do believe deserve recognition by name. The first individuals who arrived on scene were 2 officers from the New Mexico State Police. I think it goes without saying that it's extremely disturbing to think about the scene that they arrived on. And we know that these 2 officers attempted to render aid to the crash victims on scene when they arrived. We would like to thank them for their courage and their commitment. Second, the San Miguel County Volunteer Fire and Rescue personnel, who also responded to the scene, had the unthinkable task of assisting with the situation in and around the crash site. The Garfield County, Colorado Sheriff's Office, who also provided us with some very unique assistance related to one of our next of kin notifications. And lastly, the Albuquerque Police Department for their assistance with the OMI escort that took place yesterday afternoon, as we all saw. In the coming weeks and beyond, we'll no doubt have more people to thank for their support as well. And our activities thus far, we have been able to successfully make all next of kin notifications for the deceased. And along with that, we received an outpouring of support for these families. Our activities yesterday were focused primarily on the recovery of the physical bodies from the crash scene. We were successfully able to coordinate that and coordinate their transport here to the Office of the Medical Investigator in Albuquerque. That route of travel was down I-25, and I'm sure you saw on the overpasses a lot of folks congregating and offering their support, and we're grateful for that. Regarding the investigation and its current status, some details that we believe are pertinent to share. Representatives from the FAA, the NTSB, as well as the New Mexico State Police are in the middle of their respective investigations. Those run independently of each other, although they do obviously coordinate on whatever details they need to. In the coming days, the aircraft wreckage will be removed from the crash site and it will be transported to a secure position, or location rather, for analysis as a part of those investigations. We do estimate, as the sheriff mentioned, kind of an open-ended timeline. The information that we've been provided is that it could take several months for those investigations to run their course and to conclude. So we just ask for your continued patience and rest assured that we are offering every resource we have to those agencies, whatever they need in order to facilitate those investigations, we are providing to them. And we are going to let that run its course. And at the conclusion of those investigations, we anticipate on providing you with another formal update at that time. But do understand that it could take several months for that to conclude. Those are all the details about the day and the current state of the crash investigation as we understand them. And what I'd like to do now is we'd like to transition on for just a moment and tell you about the individuals who were involved in this incident. If I could just direct your attention once again to the screen to my left. First, Under Sheriff Larry Corrin. He started his career with us on October 20th of 1998. He had over 23 years of service. He was 55 years old, and he is survived by his wife and 2 sons. Lieutenant Fred Beers. He began his career with us on March 2nd, 2009. Over 13 years of service, and he is survived by his wife, son, father, and sister. Deputy Michael Levison. He began his career here on December 11th, 2017. Over 4 years of service. He was 30 years old. He is survived by a variety of family members, to include his parents, 2 brothers, one of which who is a deputy on our department currently, stepmom, and his girlfriend. Lieutenant Matthew King from Bernalillo County Fire Rescue. He began his career in 2011. He had over 11 years of service. He was 44 years old, and he is survived by his wife, son, and daughter. To conclude this afternoon, we've curated a collection of photos that we would like to share with you as we join in a moment of silence for these 4 brave individuals who are no longer with us. Again, thank you all very much for coming this afternoon. We thank you in advance for your patience, and that concludes our press conference this afternoon. Thank you.